Hi, in this video I'd like to show you how to draw a fairly neat catalytic cycle using ChemDraw. So before we start, we need to prepare ourselves a little bit. I have already in front of me a catalytic cycle I want to bring into ChemDraw, so it's always a good idea to hand sketch something which is roughly showing what you want to show. Then the next thing is to check your settings. And depending on the version of ChemDraw you have, your layout might look slightly different, but you should have something like that's called like document settings. Uncheck the line width. It should be 0.04 or something around it. If the line width is too narrow, it's difficult to see things, so just say OK. And then I'd like to use a template circle in order to help me a little bit. So for this purpose I'm selecting the empty circular orbital here in the orbital mode. And in order to draw this circle I need to press down the Alt key before I do anything else, and then I'm going fairly low on my screen here, and now click my left mouse button and I can drag it up until I get the size I'd like to have. And I need to release the mouse button before I release the Alt key, otherwise it snaps back to the small version. So if it's at the wrong place, I just click the select tool and move it into the center. Since I'd like to use this circle here as a template, I will change the color. So I'm going here to the color on the top, and I usually prefer a slightly less bright color. You can see it here, that one it is, for my ring. But it doesn't really matter, whatever you select there. At the moment I have only one object on the screen, but just to remind you that the orbital here has actually a white background. So if this one accidentally ends up in the front of your picture, then you need to move it to the back. So if you make a right mouse click, you can just say send to back. At the moment it's grayed out because I have only one object on here. So the other tool I will use a lot is the arrow tool. So this means I want to move this toolbox out. So I move here, hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse pointer over the top rim here until it gets a darker color. And now I release the left mouse button and now I can float the toolbar. As you can see, I've selected already one of the arrows. I prefer to use the 180-degree arrow, but in principle it doesn't really matter. So I select that one, move my mouse over so that it is the vertical line is more or less aligned with my ring, and then I move it across. And then I have to move my mouse a bit up and down until I have a fairly decent overlap with my circle. So if it's not 100% perfect, I'm not really worried about it. When you look at catalytic circuits, you usually need smaller fragments because you need to get your molecules somewhere. So you can easily change it by moving it to the ends of your arrow. And you see a different mouse pointer turns up. If I now click down my left mouse button, I can just move this one along the line. I don't even have to do very much, it just stays here until I think it's a good place. The other side I can move as well, but sometimes funny things are happening. So if you try to drag here, you need to get your double cross in order to turn it, and then you see that sometimes the arrowhead is doing very strange things. So how to avoid this problem? I do a right mouse click here and select that I don't want to have an arrow there because I can put my arrows back in whenever I like. Then another useful thing, especially if you have inner rings in your catalytic cycle, you see if I hover over here, I see some dots. There's one in the middle here, and that one allows me to change the curvature, which can be quite handy. So I'm just going back to where I started here. So the catalytic cycle I have in front of me will require quite a long piece in the bottom, so I will just draw another piece here and adjust it according to my picture. There we are. Okay, and I do the same thing. I remove my arrow here because I don't want to have it. So then I easily can adjust and make my gaps where I want to have them. And it's absolutely sufficient. Just use your eyes for this purpose. So in theory, I could now also copy this fragment here and flip it, but I take usually ages before I know which type of flipping I need. So I just draw another piece of arrow here until it fits over. So you see, it doesn't matter which fragment I'm using. I remove again the arrow, shorten that piece until I have some space here on the top, and I'm fairly happy. If I didn't get the curvature 100% right, I can always help here. So by this one I have now fairly well my catalytic cycle. Then we all know things have to come in and out. So let's just leave things as they are before I add any further information. So I take my template here away because I'm happy with that one, and I don't have to do this. I can do this also last. And now I want to write something in here. I have a palladium catalyst, so PD. It's oxidation state 0, so I put it just in as information. See, I like to have relatively large font size for this one, because especially if I want to draw a little bit of more looks okay. And you can see when I move, there's a point where the mouse or the arrow suddenly snaps in. So I'm just letting the software doing the snapping, and I'm not really worrying. And then I say take the arrow away, and you see it's almost perfect. It didn't get it completely on, but I think we can live with that one. You can always change this one by zooming everything in. So I'm holding down the control key, then use my select. So the last object will be selected. It's sufficient just to use the left mouse button. So sometimes you have to, if you want to have a less restrictive arrangement, you need to press down the Alt key. So that one is absolutely fine. And then here I want to have the other one, this side. So that one I can flip horizontal. Horizontal was right. So then I put it roughly at the right place, and it goes into it. So maybe I need to move it a little bit up so that it fits a bit better. But that is kind of something that's not absolutely necessary. Anything else missing? Yes, our transmetallation here. So we definitely need to move those a bit down. So I just highlight them both and move everything down, and then I try to center that one a bit. Could have done all this centering, but it's really not required. And we need again a piece of a circle. So that one here looks fairly okay. I could have used the other one, but I can also roughly rotate that one. I could also say Control R and say 180 degrees. Does it for me. So then I need to get rid of this arrow at the end, and now I can adjust my tails here so that they fit. Now this one is a little bit off. I just highlight it, take my arrows here, put it on, and maybe I'm still not really happy because it's a bit close here. Can move this one a bit out of the way, and move this one also a bit out of the way, and then move both of them a bit further down. And this time I need an arrow at this end, so full arrow at the end. Here you go. So I'm almost done now. So I have a catalytic circle. Now I want to put some text in it. So I want to write here transmetallation. So now I have a good template for a catalytic cycle, and if I have to draw another catalytic cycle, I would just fall back to my template. So I'm reusing things over and over again. And the same is true if I'm going to draw any metal complexes. It's also worthwhile to just draw a couple and then reuse them. This is all I wanted to show you.